Welcome to the Rivertown meeting, the March Rivertown meeting. Thank you for joining us, taking time out of your day. We have a very exciting guest with us, Councilman Coleman Young II. I will do an intro for you, sir, my good friend, and I have to say that Councilman Young was an early adopter of the Rivertown organization. And we first started, he was there. And I will tell you that support was greatly appreciated. But let me read some background on Councilman Young. Coleman A Young II, Councilman, 39, was elected to Detroit City Council at large. So the entire city is your domain, which is great. And of course, Rivertown, we're going to move that up on the list of importance right there. His council district, as I mentioned, covers Detroit. He is grateful for the support of citizens of Detroit and thanks them. And I know that he is one of the most sincere people that I have met. He served in both the Michigan House of Representatives and the state Senate. Passed 13 laws while serving in the state legislature over 12 years. He's very focused on Detroit, and he's focused on getting everyone safely vaccinated. That's one of my also objectives. Neighborhood public safety and development, helping to streamline the processes for minority small business development, a pilot guaranteed income program to address poverty, pilot advanced police peace program, and we work very closely with the 7th Precinct. Affordable housing, most important, especially as Detroit explodes with many opportunities. Grants for citizens to get their home rehabilitated. Clean neighborhoods and retail centers. And something very exciting I read here, the 15-minute neighborhood, where citizens can get to whatever service they need in their neighborhood within 15 minutes. And of course, the focus on good paying jobs for Detroiters. So it is my pleasure and personal opportunity to welcome Councilman Coleman Young to the Rivertown Detroit meeting. Thank you, Councilman, and the floor is yours, sir.
Well, Mr. Rody, thank you so much for that introduction. I feel like I can go home. I don't feel like there's anything else I really need to say. You done laid it all out. I mean, that's my whole little platform and everything. I can take you on the road, man. That's pretty good right there. You know, I can go outside and enjoy this beautiful day and, eat that corned beef with Jim. You know what I mean? So, listen, just really quickly, I just want to say it's such an honor for me to be here. And, like Mr. Rody said, I have such a great relationship with Chip, and what you've done at Rivertown has been nothing short of amazing, not just for the businesses, but also for the community. And when you talk about excellence, when you talk about greatness, we talk about generosity, when you talk about the best of what Detroit has to offer, you always talk about Rivertown. So I am just humbled and truly blessed to be here. And just thankful to have here. It's kind of like full circle. I mean, when you were talking about this is where I started, I mean, no joke. It's probably, 100 pounds ago, 12 years, 100 pounds ago. But, it's really quite a blessing to be here with you. And I'm just very fortunate to be here with you. So I'm just going to be very brief in terms of what I want to say, and then I'll take any questions that I have. But basically right now, we are in the processes of going through the budget right now. So we're dealing with the issues in terms of housing and affordable housing. I know we talked about that earlier in terms of area median income, in terms of building housing for people, whether it be from $50,000 or less. We know the average median income in the city of Detroit is $34,000 to $31,000 according to American Survey. The census, depending on which one you believe in, the Detroit Future City says by $34,000, but somewhere in that mark. So it's making sure that we build affordable housing at about 30% AMI. And the thing about area median income is that area median income doesn't just reflect the city of Detroit, it also reflects the entire region. So obviously there's more people make more money in the region than in the city. So when you talk about affordable housing, it might be affordable for the region, but not necessarily affordable for the citizens. And so we're working right now to be able to narrow that gap. and spend that money available. We're also appropriating ARPA dollars, the $826 million that we received from Joe Biden and the federal government. We're working on doing that right now in terms of affordable housing. Also, I'm working very hard and diligently for a guaranteed income, which is based on the program that will happen in Stockton, California, where he basically gave $500 a month to 120 people for about 24 months. And so that's something that I'm working on doing right now, working with the nonprofit community, others. There's an argument about whether or not we can use city funds simply because there's a prohibition in the state constitution, Article 7, Section 22, which talks about using those funds for that. So those are some of the things that I'm dealing with right now. We're also making sure that we're dealing with the issue of policing. I want to make sure that we do they're talking about walking the beats in the neighborhoods again. I think that's good. I'm probably going to ask more questions about, can we have some more police mini stations? I think that's something that'd be good in the neighborhood, so we actually have that presence here. If you have any issues involving police presence in Rivertown, please let me know. So when we're going through the budget process, I can request that we have that in Rivertown. We also had some issues with senior buildings. And so one of the things I'm doing is work with the police department right now to respond to the senior buildings, because a lot of times you have people who will break into those gates. And when they go into those gates, they might deal drugs, do unnecessary illegal things. And the reason why I'm saying that is because if you're having issues with policing or issues with police department, please let me know now, because their budget's coming up soon. I think that's something that we definitely could talk about in the future in terms of what we want to do there. Also, this will be my final comment. I'm also working on a work group to make sure that we can do more for the efficiency and effectiveness of small business, not just in terms of building permits, but also in terms of just getting the licenses and things that you need in terms of a one-stop shop. Right now, you can go to Detroit Means Business. That's kind of where they have everything going as well. So if you have any questions involving business, please let me know. Any other quality of life issues, please let me know. I'm here for you. Always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much, Rivertown. I look forward to taking all your questions, and thank you for letting me be your honored and special guest.
Well, thank you, Councilman Young. I do want to open it up to questions to the group that would like to ask or make a comment. So please, if you want to raise your hand, great, or just unmute yourself and go ahead.
This is Beverly Burns. I just have sort of a global question, I guess. It's always been interesting to me to contemplate what it would be like to be a council person at large in a city like Detroit or in any city. How do you deal with the sort of conflict that you must have in representing the entire city, Northwest Detroit and my neighborhood in Capitol Park and East Jefferson? How do you do that?
Well, it's a labor of love. It's a labor of love. It's really about priorities. You know what I'm saying? It's about making sure that you put the citizens first, but also making sure that you have enough money to be able to put what's the necessary priorities down. You got to really be able to prioritize. That's part of the job in general. You know what I'm saying? Whether you're in a district, it's in a much larger scale when you're at large. But it's basically dealing with, do we need more police officers or should we build more parks? Do we need to invest more in small businesses, or do we need to invest more in terms of reducing blight and illegal dumping? It's just managing those things and how much money you have available for that. And it's also trying to come up with cost cutting and cost saving ways as well. I mean, I think with the housing issue, I'm trying to work on a pilot for a 3D printer. That's basically where they're using 3D printers to be able to actually print out houses. It's a pilot small project, but I think that's something that we should do. I also think with the issue of the flooding that we've had, I think one of the issues we should start talking about is permeable concrete, as well as there's something called top mix permeable, which actually can drink 1,000 meters of water per square foot in a minute. And so I think that's something they're building in UK right now. That's something we should do. I've just already passed legislation in terms of fixing people's basements right now that have been severely impacted by the flood. So we're doing that as well in terms of cleaning that up. But I think long-term, it's also working with DWSD and working with DTE to make sure that the power works, because part of the reason why we had the flood that we had was because the power went out. And so it's, can we have a microgrid? Can we build a microgrid in order to make sure that if you do have the power goes off, that the power will switch off to something that will still be connected to an alternative source of power, a backup power. So that way, if that happens again, people still will have this, we have a God forbid, another 100-year flood. You're not going to have people's basements being backed up. So these are some of the things that I'm doing, just balancing all that. But that's an excellent question. It's something I wrestle with every day. But I'm thankful you guys voted for me to have the job. Let me tell you, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. I don't regret it.
Other questions for the councilman?
I just want to say this too. I sat in 5 budget hearings today, and I lead the neighborhood community services committee as well. So these are things that I'm doing. And then at 3 p.m., I also went and spoke at Cook School. So in Rosedale Park. So
at Cook School?
Yeah, Cook School in Rosedale Park. Yeah, so
absolutely.
It was a good thing.
My old neighborhood.
And now at 5 o'clock, I'm here. So this is the highlight of my day, kind of winding down. So yeah, that's kind of like in the life of a councilman. So thank you again.
And thank you.
I have one question for you. I'm interested in more senior development for seniors, 55 and over, but not high rises. Is there any possibility of one level developments, similar to some of the developments that is over in Lafayette Park, where they're not going in elevators, where they, the ones that can just drive into an attached garage versus always having to deal with high rises? Is there any possibility for that?
Absolutely. Now, I know you said no high rise, but I'll just get ready to tell you, I was part of Lee Plaza, where they're developing that new building that's going to be 4 senior buildings. So, I hear what you're saying about senior buildings, but in terms of high rises, but no, I definitely think that we can talk about that, because I think that housing is very important. I know they also have a senior emergency loan program that they have for senior citizens to be able to fix up the housing that they have currently. So I think but I think what you're talking about, that's definitely something I'm going to look into, because because what you're saying is right. I've seen more senior development, but it has been high rise. It has been multiple buildings. So what you're talking about, I think that's something I definitely want to invest. And I have to come back here and let you know how that's going on. And what I'll do is I'll leave my information in the chat. And so that way you can give me a call, and so I can keep up with you and tell you about what's going on. But yeah, we have invested heavily in senior building. I was just part of Lee Plaza to do that.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it similar to the development that Hartford Community Methodist Baptist Church did over on the west side. Those are 1 levels where people who are driving have attached garages where they can just drive right in. And everybody is not wanting to leave their car out in the elements where you have a open parking lot. And I know it's for multiple, making it more easier for the numbers that you're looking for to house, but there's some people who prefer not to be in a high rise.
No, you're absolutely right. And we definitely want to provide more, not just options, but more mixed income living and things of that nature. But I think for senior citizens, you're right. I understand they might want to be on, first floor or things of that nature. And I definitely think that's something we could do. And I definitely going to work with my colleagues to make sure that we have a project similar like they had in Hartford. Yes, Ms. Owens, we'll work on that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Councilman, this is Mike Higgins. This is just a little bit east of the river town, but at Jefferson and Van Dyke, we are doing a 100% affordable mixed use project that we hope to be under construction in about 60 or 90 days. So you're talking about affordable, and we are doing 100% affordable there.
Excellent. Excellent. I look forward to it. Any way I can help, please let me know.
Great. Thank you.
Excellent. That's what we need.
Other questions?
I have a question. Yes, this is Suzette Olacker. Good evening, all, and thank you so much for your comments. I have been thinking about the difficulties that we have with blight as well as unemployment within the city of Detroit. There are And so I'm wondering if you would consider, or if there are any projects that might be considered to kind of partner those situations rather than just raise housing that could potentially be salvageable, is there a way to help train people to rebuild, to rehab those houses where that's possible? And therefore we have people trained to do something, not just be laborers short term, but be workers, developers, whatever, in the workforce, trained on a long-term basis.
Well, absolutely. I mean, listen, I think we should partner up with Detroit Employment Solutions Corporation. There's a program called Skills for Life that teaches people about how to do things about that nature, remove debris and things of that nature. Also, a proposal in part of that money was also to rehab and build houses. So you're going to have contracts about building new houses and building affordable houses. And I definitely think not only do we want to make sure that we train folks to be able to get those jobs, whether it be young people, grow Detroit's young talent, or Detroit at work. But I also think that it's important for us to make sure that if there are major contractors, that we subcontract those contractors out to Detroiters as well. I think we also have a partnership with Randolph Career Technical Trades. I think that's something that's very important. So utilizing those partnerships and making sure that when it comes to housing, that not only that we provide those jobs, we also provide contractors to Detroiters so that money stays in the neighborhoods and in the communities and put people back to work. And so there are programs available that we're already funding as well. I think we have about $90 million that we're investing in ARPA funds so far from that. Now, again, we're going through the budget right now. This is the mayor's proposed budget. And then we're going through the process of approving budget. I've been in budget hearings all day today. So this is part of the process of what's going on right now. But yes, there are programs that are available right now and people who are getting trained right now in order to rebuild those houses for people to be able to live in. So we're not just tearing down houses, but even the house that we're tearing down, we are making sure that Detroiters are trained for those skills and opportunities.
Thank you. And again, for my focus, this is long-term planning for the residents of Detroit, for training, for jobs, for entrepreneurship, for all of those possibilities. Thank you so much for your comments and your work. It's vital.
And let me say this too, I forgot to say this. Remember, when it's a federal project like Lee Plaza, it's actually Section 3. And what I mean by Section 3 of what's a HUD project is that section, why that's important is that because Section 3 means that you actually have to hire people who are from that neighborhood to be able to participate in building that. Now, we have to make sure that the contractors that we have are Section 3 compliant, but I think that they are actually by law, by federal law, because there's a higher standard, we have federal projects to be able to make sure that those folks get jobs and opportunities as well. So I just want to make sure that I'm already on that in terms of the Plaza and other HUD projects, but even projects that may not be funded, may not be HUD projects, but may be funded, but may be city funded. We want to let you know we're doing all that we can in moving heaven and earth to make sure that Detroiters get jobs and we put people to work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And folks get affordable housing.
Councilman Young, Brian Walker here with Visit Detroit. I wanted to get your take on the film industry, because we had the film industry here a few years ago. It was a very rich plan. It had some pros and cons, but one of the good things was it had a lot of our hotel rooms filled, and the people that were here patronized a lot of the businesses, and you know, it kind of went by the wayside. And I just wanted to know what your take on that is as far as bringing that back and seeing what the possibilities are.
Brother, I should have found you during the debate, man. You know what I'm saying? I should have brought you up to Lansing, because you talking too much like Bright right now. I tell you, look, I first of all, lay back. I actually introduced the legislation to pass the tax cuts for the film industry. I was part of the package, and people couldn't see the forest for the trees, or excuse my French, they just stuck on stupid. And the reason why that was because they always saw the money that was being paid out. They didn't see the people that were working jobs. They didn't see the extras. They didn't see people who were building the sets. They didn't see people that were catering the food. I mean, they were hiring all over the city. Red Dog was shot here. They weren't going to shoot Batman. But, you know, once they pulled the tax credits, that was it. And so we lost out on that. And so there was just a tremendous opportunity for the jobs and the opportunities, from the extra work to the camera work and the partnership with DPS that could have expanded beyond that, so the kids could learn that, so we could have the future directors and writers and producers. They were going to build studios downtown in a lot of those along the river, for a lot of those buildings that are abandoned, that used to be warehouses and things of that nature. They were in the process of building studios and putting more people to work through that. It already created 10,000 jobs. And, I'm the type of person, I'm not against spending money if I'm going to put people to work. If I'm going to make sure that people got food on the table, money in their pocket, a roof over their head, and clothes and shoes on their feet and their back. It's worth it to me in the long run. So I totally understand. I totally agree with you. I think we're probably going to have to go to Lansing and do it again. You know what I'm saying? I think it's something that needs to happen. I saw the power of the entertainment industry, and I really thought, and I was really sad when they cut it, and I think we need to bring it back, quite frankly. So I agree with you 110%. And anything you need me to do, let me know. Okay,
definitely. Because like I said, from a hotel standpoint, you had long-term crews coming into the city, staying for weeks on end. And like you said, the spinoff from different job opportunities is just endless. So definitely, we will be in touch. Definitely.
Please do. The hotels, the uniforms, all that, man.
Yes, yes.
Coffee shops.
Other questions?
I was just going to say, speaking as someone who benefited from the movie deal, when they filmed the movie 8 Mile, my business actually did everything that was on wheels in that movie. All the cars, the bus, the police cars, all the rest of that. And a lot of it was shot right in my neighborhood. There's more benefit to it than just the dollars and cents. The way people look at the city and the excitement that it creates, and the fact that people want to be there and they want to be around it, that's huge. And it's hard to put a dollar figure on that.
I totally agree with you. I mean, you Mr. Evans, you had me at hello. I totally agree with you, sir. I mean, I think it's just unfortunate, and I think it's just what happens when people are short-sighted. Yes. It really is, because I agree with you. I think it's a great plan. I think we need to bring it back, because Detroit's a beautiful place. Michigan's a beautiful state. It's a beautiful opportunity. We have attractions that nobody else has. We have museums that nobody else has. We have assets that nobody else has. We have people that nobody else has. So it's just the experience here. It's just no place like Detroit. And to put that on the film and capture in the movie is just simply nothing short but amazing. And for us not to be able to do that, be robbed that opportunity, I thought it was wrong.
I agree.
I do have a question. The 15-minute neighborhood concept sounds intriguing. What would it take to get businesses to get that up and running?
Well, I think the first thing we got to do is we got to make sure that we invest, and I got to talk to planning about that. I'm in the process of talking to them now, but make sure that we invest in the actual planning study in terms of how we're going to do it, where we're going to place it. I think then we have to do what we can to incentivize businesses to want to be able to set up, and also make sure, like I said earlier, that we simplify the building permit process. If they're a restaurant, we also make sure that we simplify and streamline the health permit process. I think there's a lot of red tape that businesses have to go through a lot of times. And so I think we have to make sure that we streamline it as much as we possibly can, and have the proper investment vehicle. We also need to work with our police department to make sure that it's safe and that people feel safe, so that we can have a place like Avenue of Fashion and things of that nature. I think that's something that's very important. And I also think that we need to make sure that we promote and work with the Detroit Means Business, so that people can be able to navigate the city as well. So they understand what permits they get, have one-stop shop permitting centers. So we have that. And also make sure that we have a proper zone area for businesses to be able to come in. So we create that right environment. We create the right, and we also make sure that we incentivize our small businesses as well, to make sure that we care about them and that they're a priority. I think sometimes people feel that, they're doing the city a favor rather than the city's doing, the city's doing them a favor rather than they're doing the city a favor by choosing to be in the city of Detroit. We have got to do a better job of making sure that we incentivize, protect, and encourage small businesses. and also make sure that that the neighborhood that they're in or the business district they're in is walkable. And also make sure that I think we have mobility as a service. And the reason why I'm saying that is because if you're going to go to a business district like that and you don't have a car, which I think 33% of the city doesn't, you want to be able to make sure that they either have their Mogos, their Ubers, their Lyfts, their Chariots, if they can't afford that, the bus, as well as zip cars. I know in Philadelphia, they have a program, they have dollar vans in Philadelphia with enterprise rental. I think that's something that we should work with as well. And I think coordinating that system wherever they're at to be able to go where they need to be and have those businesses available to them. I think if we have the proper zoning, the proper plan, and with all of us working together for the greater good, I think we could really get something done and have something special.
Go ahead. Other questions from the group? I have one for you, Councilman Young, and I remember that when President Jones attended our meeting, I asked her this question, and I'm going to ask you the same one. What do you feel are the three biggest challenges as you sit on council for the city of Detroit today that you feel you can have an impact on during your term?
Ooh, that's a tough question. And the reason why is because there's so many things you want to deal with. But I think right now, what we have to do, I think, is increase the vaccination rate. That's like the first thing we have to do. I think the city of Detroit's like 38, 40%. Now, people are saying that COVID is going away because the cases are going low, and that's a good thing. But I heard there's a breakout over in China where those numbers are increasing. They might, God forbid, blow back over here. So I think the first thing we need to do is get more people vaccinated in the city of Detroit. We've had over, I think, 3,000 folks that have died in the city of Detroit from the coronavirus. That is something that we cannot continue to keep having. 4,000, excuse me. They're not continue to keep having. So I think that's the first thing that we have to do, not just to protect people's lives, but also to open up the economy and really just open up the city again, so people can get back to life as normal and get back to doing businesses and things of that nature. I think that's first and foremost. I think secondly, what we're going to have to do is we're going to deal with the issue of crime. And I think what we're going to have to deal with the issue of crime is from a number of fronts. I don't think it could just be getting tough on crime or just having an overabundance of policing. I think that's important. And I think we want to have police out there, and I think we want to have police walking the beat. We want to have police officers that have many stations in these neighborhoods as well. I think that's something that's absolutely vital. But I also think we want to challenge it by making sure that we have jobs and opportunities available for the citizens, for the residents. I think that's through job training, whether it be, like I said earlier, Detroit at Work, Detroit Employment Solutions Corporation. I think that's something that's going to be vital. I also think that now we have a state prohibition on this issue, but I also think in terms of raising the minimum wage, I think that's something that's going to be critical for a lot of people to be able to feed themselves and their families, especially during these inflationary times. I think that's something that's going to be absolutely critical. So I think that's something that's big. And like we said earlier, I think the third issue right now is housing. I mean, I think we have a lot of, I think that we have a lot of people who cannot afford housing as of right now. We only have, I'll try. I think it's over 60% of Detroiters are cost burdened, which means they spend 30% or more of their income on housing. If we were to raise the income levels of Detroit, the average median income level to $50,000, you would reduce most of that problem. So I think that those three things are a critical issue. And when I mean affordable housing, I mean affordable housing in terms of $30,000, 30% median income or less. Now, the Detroit Revitalization Department is starting at 50% median income. It's like $30,000. So I'm talking about extreme low income for a lot of folks in the city of Detroit right now. So I think those are the three major issues that we're really going to have to deal with in terms of, and let me just say this too. I think that's why right to counsel, and what I mean by that, or access to counsel, is basically just the idea of people having access to lawyers if they're facing eviction from their homes. So we got about 30,000 people who get evicted a year in the city of Detroit. Now, these are pre-pandemic numbers, but I think that's something that we're going to have to really deal with. So I think 95% of landlords have legal representation, only 5% are residents. So I think that's something that we're going to have to really deal with. I think if we could deal with those things, I think in the long term, we could deal with the issue of housing, deal with the issue of crime, deal with the issue of vaccination. And when I mean crime, also mean jobs and economic development. I think we'll be in a much better place in the long term for the city of Detroit. Then we can start talking about transit, things of that nature as well.
And let me, the vaccination issue is number one on my side as well. I'm glad to see it's on number one on yours. How do we get that level of vaccination up? And I know that Senator Chang is actually at 6:30 holding a session with Denise Fair, who is the Chief Health Officer for the city of Detroit. But how do we get that level up to what would even be the Michigan level of vaccination?
Well, I think the first thing we got to do is what I want to do is, and I'm going to ask the health fair director this when she comes before us, it's for budget. But I definitely think the first thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that we partner up with the federal government. They had a program called A Shot in the Shop. I don't know if that's where you take a shot in the barber shop. I don't know if that's something that's still going on or something that we're still doing, but I would like to get the update in terms of that. I think secondly, we need to make it more accessible to people. I personally don't see why we're not partnering up whether it be our food truck industry, whether it be the ice cream truck industry, making them more available in the recreational centers. I think that's something that's very important. I think just also making sure that people are aware and making it more accessible for people to be able to go in the neighborhoods. I think that's something that's critical, as well as making sure that we have more mobile facilities that also can provide vaccinations to people who can't be able to leave or they are not as upwardly mobile. I think that's something that's critical. We've also partnered up with our churches. They've done a phenomenal job. I would like to see if we can expand that partnership potentially and be able to have more churches participate in the process. I think that's something that's critical. Also, we're probably going to have to do a better job in terms of using our television stations or partner with our media department to be able to let people know where they could get these vaccines, let people know where they're available at. We had one over at Cobo, but it was just, not Cobo, TCF Center now, but it was just too expensive. And so, I mean, it was very convenient. It was drive-through, but it was just too expensive. So I think if we just have more drive-through facilities for people to be able, where they can stay in their car, I think that's something long-term that we could be able to do. I think that's really how we're going to do it. Being able to go door to door, block by block, knocking on doors if you have to, but letting people know you have to get vaccinated. From my understanding, we're also going to let people know about a fourth shot that's potentially going to be coming soon. So when I get more information on that, I'll come back and let you know. But there's been some discussions about people necessarily having to take a fourth shot. So I think people need to know, one, they have to take a shot and then know how many shots they need to take. So I think once we get all that, I think that would be a much better way overall of being able to make sure that people have access to and the information necessary to get shots and increase the vaccination rate. Because too many people have died, and we got too many people who've lost a brother or sister, their mother unnecessarily.
I would agree with you. And when I read the Detroit Free Press on a Sunday, and they go through some of the very sad stories of people who have passed away, our Detroiters, that for whatever reason didn't have the shot or something, it's just really sad. They leave families and brothers and sisters and fathers and mothers. And I don't know whether it's an education effort to get more information out, to say, hey, listen, or maybe instead of a shot, it could be a pill. I don't know. But, I think not having the level of vaccination does hurt us as a city. And I don't know whether, Brian, from your standpoint, whether, people deciding to come to the city of Detroit, does that impact their decision that our level of vaccination is low?
Not necessarily from a city standpoint, because if you're a convention goer, you're pretty much in a bubble. So the conventions are setting their own mandates. So we've got some conventions coming to town, and even though the mask mandate has been relaxed, they're still requiring you to wear your mask. They're requiring you to show proof of vaccination. And if you're not vaccinated, you have to have a test or something like that 48 hours before you come to the convention. So they're setting their own standards. So it would be great if the city could get on board with that as far as increasing the vaccination. I think education is the key too. We've got a lot of YouTube doctors out here that are spreading some disinformation. So we gotta.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say that. You know, you gotta get on and have a social media presence heavy too, because a lot of people are spreading misinformation about, you know, taking the shot and having the government track you and this, that, and the third. And, you know, if you take the shot, you're gonna become a Ninja Turtle or whatever else. So I think, you know, it's just stuff that's clearly not true. And people are saying that and people are believing it, unfortunately. So it makes it harder. And people are losing their lives. You know what I'm saying? Because at that point, you know, once you find out it's real, it's, you know, once you got it, you die, it's too late. And even if you don't, you know, and I'm not saying that's, you know, and it's unfortunate, I don't want you to catch it, but if you catch it, you don't pass away, you got a lot of people who are long haulers now and who are dealing with the long-term results of not having and not being able to function like they used to or as well as they used to mentally because they had this. And it's just unfortunate and it's unnecessary. And so I want to protect as many people as I possibly can. Because I think that you got too many people who are coming home and, you know, quite frankly, sitting at that table and it's in that empty chair where their brother or their mother, their sister or their father used to sit at. You know, how many loved ones have we buried unnecessarily because of misinformation and, quite frankly, disinformation? It was just unnecessary. And so we want to protect as many people as we possibly can. I'm fully vaccinated. And I want to go out there and use my example to get everybody else vaccinated as well.
As I am as well. Let me shift to the budget if I could. I think we all lived through the bankruptcy, most painful for many. As you look at the budget coming up, are we a balanced budget? Or where are we on the budget side of the business of Detroit?
Well, in terms of where we are with the budget side, in terms of the business of Detroit, we have a balanced budget. And we are one more year away, if I'm not mistaken, from us actually being able to get out from under state oversight. And so we have a balanced budget. I understand the pain that we went through bankruptcy. So yeah. We have one more budget cycle, I believe, until we are with under state oversight and review. And so we can fully go back we still operate now, but if we were not to have a balanced budget, it would re-trigger the Financial Review Commission all over again, which not only had oversight over the city, but also the schools as well. So we are just one more budget cycle away from being there in terms of having a balanced budget. And that's something that's very important in terms of making sure that the city of Detroit has fiscal independence. I also would like to say, though, I think that if the state is going to insert itself in the affairs of our fiscal matters, I would also like to see them insert themselves into the affairs of some of these other matters as well. In terms of the city of Detroit, I think being able to control its own tax code, because it's hard for me to be able to reduce property taxes, you know what I'm saying, for individuals if I don't have control of the tax code in terms of other taxes that we might be able to raise or things we might be able to do. If I want to provide for small business, to provide for neighborhoods, it's hard for me to be able to do that if I can't raise taxes in other areas. And I can't do that because we don't control the budget. And so I think that, you know, we want to make sure that we have a balanced budget, but I also want to work with my state colleagues as well to make sure that we have full control over the city and its finances, which we were elected to do.
Well, that's great. I support that, and the balanced budget so that we can move ahead in a positive, you know, basis and get out of this, so that you know, we're not looking at any other things, even with COVID. And I know it's impacted the city a lot between the casinos and everything else, people not coming downtown as much. But I do think the people are coming back. And as an example, the Grand Prix next year moving to downtown Detroit. I think that is a jewel to show off our city. And we need to do more of these. Maybe, NCAA tournaments or whatever they might be to bring people into the city of Detroit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree. Now, they're bringing the Grand Prix back into, they're actually driving it through the city rather than over on Belle Isle. That's the same thing they used to do when my father was in office. So I really think to bring it back to that, I think not only is good for, the city in terms of showing off the city, it's also good for Grand Prix and for people to see the neighborhoods. And I definitely think that this is an opportunity. I'm sure we already have a partnership. I probably want to make sure there is some investment we can make in this. But I also think that the Grand Prix is an opportunity for DPS and these kids that we have here to be able to learn to be a part of it. Not necessarily just to be a driver, but also to learn how the cars work, to fix the cars, to see what it's like to be in that field and in that industry. I think that's a tremendous opportunity that we really can take advantage of. I'm sure there's already programs already, but I definitely want to make sure that we capitalize on that and that we do the best we can, expand it if necessary, so that these kids can learn that. So not only are, we're just having this race that people are enjoying themselves and a good thing, but also so that our kids can participate in this, so we can have the next generation mechanics, the next generation drivers, the next generation managers, or whatever, or accounts, or whatever the case may be in that field. And so I think it's a real good win-win for everybody.
I agree. Jim, you have a question? Jim Simmerat, I saw you raised your hand there. You're on mute.
Yeah, it's just more of a comment. Councilman Young, thank you for joining us here. I just want to share a couple perceptions. I thought one of the things that Brenda Jones, Council President Brenda Jones did, and she was really emphatic about it, that was making sure that there was low-income housing available whenever there's a new development. And we saw that play out in Seattle, where the bus drivers and the people that cleaned the hotel rooms couldn't afford to live in Seattle. I mean, it became cost prohibitive. So they had to move, an hour or 2 hour, hour and a half away just to come in and go to work. So I thought that was just really significant. Secondly, being safe and being secure is probably one of the primary reasons that a lot of people left Detroit, because they were afraid of their safety and the security. And that's absolutely, very, very important, especially for, young families and stuff like that. They want their kids to be in a safe environment. I thought Dr. Vitti, he's doing some incredible stuff with the Detroit Public Schools. I wish him all the best. He's, thinking out of the box, and I guess some time will tell on that. But my final thought was, Destinations Detroit. One of the things that's kept me in this area is that this place is just very rich in arts and culture. It's absolutely phenomenal. The jazz musicians that come out of here, the artists that come out of here, they can't find the opportunities necessarily in Detroit, so they go to New York and Los Angeles or somewhere else. But somehow we got to figure out, how can we showcase that a little better. And then for coming downtown, I'm not going to come down to a Pistons game or Red Wings game or whatever. Some of them, yes, I will, but I'm not a season ticket holder. But there's got to be destinations that people want to go to. And when I was at the shipmasters meeting last Saturday night, and saw the big ship captains, we're in the top of the Renaissance Center, and we're looking out the beautiful skyline. And a lot of people were asking me, well, where do I go? I'm staying here at this hotel or that hotel, and where do I go? I want to be able to tell them, this is definitely a destination that you want to go to. Of course, I told him Lafayette County, or Easter Market, Bert's Place. But, there needs to be that little destinations, but at the same time, we got to be careful that they don't become cost prohibitive for people that want to live there, so. Anyway, I wish you a lot of success, and I'm very excited to have you as part of the city council. Over.
Well, listen,
Jim-
I just want to say thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I think that's why the inclusionary zoning piece, I think that Mary Sheffield did was so, Council President Sheffield did was so important. I think that's why, me trying to work with the 3D printing in terms of making sure that we print more affordable housing, emphasize tiny houses as well is a pilot project. I think those are things that are very important. Also work with the Housing and Research Development Department on affordable housing, as well as Lee Plaza, which I was part of, was already successful. I think those are some of the things that we want to do long-term, as well as working with zoning and planning to make sure that we have more mixed income living. I think that's something that's very critical and key. As well as making sure that we have zones that are available so that people don't get gentrified, like you were talking about earlier, have proper zoning that's available, that we build affordable housing in these areas, that we provide density bonuses to developers to make sure that those houses are more affordable. Also, that we make sure that we have, that we provide an opportunity for a lot of these developments to also accept Section 8 housing as well. I think if we do that, if we do those type of things, we'll definitely be able to have more affordable housing, so people won't be either. And let me say this too. I also, and I'm working on this as well, but we also want to have a fund available so that we can help folks that actually stayed in the city of Detroit. We welcome everybody that's come here. We're excited about people that's coming here. We want people to come here. But I also want to make sure that we don't forget those that stay. It's like the old saying, you got to dance with the people who brought you. And, at some point in time, we want to make sure that we do what we can for those who stayed. And so I think if we do these things, I think we'll have a much better chance in terms of affordable housing in the long run.
That is great. We have just a couple minutes left here. I want to open it up to anybody else who would like to ask any questions or make any comments here while we have Councilman Young.
Well, I'd just like to let Jim know, because you had the question, you wanted to know what there is to see and do in the city. We at Visit Detroit, we're going to hold a hometown tourist day in Campus Martius Park on May 3rd. And what we do is we try to engage the community, because we tell people, take a vacation in your city if you want to know what's going on. So we're going to have vendors, we're going to have attractions, hotels, restaurants down in Campus Martius Park. And that'll give you the chance to engage with all of them to find out what's going on in the city. And this is going to be May 3rd. So hopefully everybody will get a chance to attend.
That's great. Great. Thank you for sharing that. Other questions, comments from anybody in the group at all? I see that Dr. Jenkins is on from Dr. Vidi's office. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Jenkins. Well, if not, I want to thank you, Councilman Young, for taking time to be with us. As always, you've been very generous with your time. We look forward to having you come back and maybe do an update. But I share Jim's comment of wishing you good luck, because with the new council members, it's a new council and an opportunity to do new things. And that's really what we're looking for. We're looking for fresh eyes, looking at doing things maybe that haven't been done, things that we can do that haven't been thought of. And I think that's that's the spirit of Detroit. And Brian, I'll be down there on May 3rd, because I've always said I need to tour the city myself. I bring people in and they see more than I do. So I need to do that. So what day is that? Is that a Saturday or is that a weekday?
No, that's May 3rd. It's probably a weekday.
Weekday, okay.
Say here. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be Tuesday, May 3rd.
Okay,
And just to say, you know, the partnership with the city and the city council is great too, because it would be hard for us to get these conventions in town if we didn't have the support of folks like Councilman Young and the city council. It makes it a lot easier.
And thank you for all that you guys do.
well, we thank you. Just a couple of things. Our next Rivertown meeting will be April the 21st. We'll be talking about the Rivertown Business Improvement Zone, the RBIZ as we call it, to help Rivertown look even better than it is today and support some of the programs. So we're going to cover that. In May, for everybody, we'll be talking about the Detroit Historical Society. We're going to have them review all the great things that are there and some of the things that they are doing. Also, I do know that they're making progress on the I-375 project. I know Councilman Young, everybody's involved in that. If you're not familiar with it, I call it reuniting Detroit with the Rivertown Lafayette Park. And the intent there is to get a lot of dirt and fill it in and make it boulevards and areas to cross, so you're not hamstrung by having to try to cross on busy. So I'm glad to see that that is absolutely moving ahead. So that's fantastic. But we wish you good luck. I have one of our Rivertown logos for you, and I will drop that off to you next week, just as a thank you from this group. You are welcome anytime at our meetings. If there's anything you'd like input on and you'd like a quick group to talk to, we're here for you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Such an honor and privilege. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next month. Have a great St. Patrick's Day and enjoy the warm weather. Thank you all.
Guys, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.